Exactly 1 month ago, Hamas launched an unprecedented attack on Israel in the early hours of 7th October. With the attack, the Middle East has become more turbulent than ever before. So far, more than 10,000 Palestinians in Gaza and 1,400 Israelis have been killed in the violence, while 224 people have been held hostage by Hamas. The militants have released 4 hostages, including an American-Israeli mother and daughter, and 2 elderly Israeli women in a deal brokered by Qatar. In response to the devastating attack, which Hamas called Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, Israel launched an intense aerial bombardments into the Gaza Strip, targeting Hamas headquarters and infrastructure to destroy Hamas, as stated by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. 5 days into the war, Netanyahu formed a temporary 5-member war cabinet and unity government with opposition alliance leader Benny Gantz. The US, one of Israel's closest allies, has deployed roughly 1,200 US service members to the Middle East, alongside thousands of others aboard Navy carrier strike groups and a Marine expeditionary unit with roughly 2,000 people. While countries such as US, UK, Canada and more initially supported Israel's right to defend, they later called for compliance of humanitarian law and ceasefires as the conflict raged on. In the early days of the violence, numerous leaders such as US President Joe Biden, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and the European Commission President visited Israel to show their support. The constant aerial bombing by Israel have turned large parts of Gaza, where roughly 2.2 million Palestinians reside, into rubble. Numerous civilian infrastructures such as mosques, bakeries, schools and hospitals have also been struck. According to the Israel Defense Forces, Hamas is using civilian infrastructure such as hospitals to store ammunition and has elaborate tunnel systems spread across Gaza City. One such hospital hit was Al-Ahli Arab Hospital in northern Gaza. While Palestinian officials blamed an Israeli airstrike for the explosion, which killed 471 Palestinians and wounded 314 others, Israel denied responsibility for the blast. The IDF said a failed rocket launch by the Palestinian Islamic Jihad militant group caused the explosion. However, Islamic Jihad also dismissed these claims. While Israel warned all Palestinians to move from the northern side of Gaza to the southern end as it aimed to target Hamas operations in the region, many of the civilian corridors were also bombed, making it impossible for civilians to make the journey within days. Most recently, Israel struck one of the biggest refugee camps in the Gaza Strip, the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza. The Gaza Health Ministry put the death count at 50 with 150 injured. Internet and other communications have also repeatedly been cut off from the region amid rising tensions. According to the Committee for Protecting Journalists, 37 journalists and media workers have been killed so far in the conflict. Experts have noted many reasons for the timing of Hamas's attack, especially one day after 50 years of the 1973 Yom Kippur War. This includes disrupting talks on normalization of ties between Israel and Saudi Arabia, which was being brokered by the US. Last month, US President Joe Biden said, "One of the reasons Hamas moved on Israel, they knew that I was about to sit down with the Saudis," Biden said. Guess what? The Saudis wanted to recognize Israel. While Saudi Arabia paused talks with Israel roughly a week into the conflict, a White House statement on a call between US President Joe Biden and Saudi Arabia leader Mohammed bin Salman indicated that talks may resume after the conflict ends. They also affirmed the importance of working towards a sustainable peace between Israelis and Palestinians as soon as the crisis subsides, building on the work that was already underway between Saudi Arabia and the United States over recent months, the statement issued on 24 October noted. The US last month voted against a landslide United Nations General Assembly resolution that called for humanitarian truce in the conflict, as it did not condemn Hamas. India, along with 42 others, abstained from voting. While Washington has repeatedly opposed a ceasefire, It sought for a humanitarian corridor for essential supplies and relocation of civilians, with Blinken asserting that a ceasefire would allow Hamas to regroup in Gaza. In contrast, Egypt and Jordan noted that the killing of civilians cannot be justified under the right to defend. Arab states have also criticized Israel for its attacks on civilian infrastructure. Last week, Israel launched its ground offensive into Gaza in the second phase of its war against Hamas. According to the IDF, forces have surrounded Gaza City and are attacking Hamas infrastructure and destroying tunnels used by militants to launch attacks. Several countries have severed ties with Israel over the past month, including Bolivia, while Colombia and Chile have recalled their ambassadors. Bahrain last week became one of the first Abraham Accord signatories to freeze ties with Israel. This is Dishha Bagchi for ThePrint. Please follow ThePrint for all the latest updates. Thank you.